The pair met again in an online event weeks later, and Carlsen quit their game after making just one move. Days later, the world #1 publicly confirmed his suspicions of Niemann. I believe that Niemann has cheated more and more recently than he has publicly admitted, Carlsen wrote in his first public statement on the matter on September 26th. His over-the-board progress has been unusual, and throughout our game in the Sinquefield Cup, I had the impression that he wasn't tense or even fully concentrating on the game in critical positions while outplaying me as black in a way I think only a handful of players can do. Okay, when Niemann addressed the suspicions last month, he said the only instance in which he had cheated in an event with prize money was when he was 12. He said he later cheated as a 16-year-old in random games and that they were the biggest mistakes of his life. He also said he never cheated while live streaming a game. Okay, here's another chart. I would never could even fathom doing it in a real game, he said. Oh, here's a chart. Oh boy. Number of games likely cheated, and here are the events. We have Title Tuesday on July 7th, 2015. Oh my god, this was when he was 12 years old. I mean, he cheated in all nine games of Title Tuesday when he was 12 years old. I mean, qualifier 1 for Title Tuesday 3-2 Blitz on April 4th, 2017. Okay, so this was 15, this is 17. Okay, number of games 10. Number of games he likely cheated in 10 games. Pro Chess League. Oh boy, February 13th to March 2nd, 2020. 32 games he likely cheated in a third of these games in the Pro Chess League. Games against Naroditsky. Oh my gosh, he played 14 games against Daniel Naroditsky on April 11th, 2020, and he cheated in all 14 is what they're saying. Most likely he cheated in all 14 games. Holy moly. Whoa, this is huge. This is huge. SEC Grand Prix Title Tuesday Blitz. This was June 16th, 2020. This was a qualifier for the SEC. I remember this event. Number of games 10. Number of games likely cheated in 10. Games against Krikor Mkhitaryan, the Brazilian Grandmaster and streamer, July 18, 2020. 16 games. Number of games likely cheated in 16. So they're saying likely. So they're saying likely, which does not mean that it's proven, but it feels like they feel confident in this. Games against David Pravian, Dropstone, who plays in Title Tuesday. 8 games, likely cheated in 8 games. Games against Jan Nepomniachtchi. 7 games on June 20th, 2020, likely cheated in 7 of those games. Games against Stearman. Wait, Josiah Stearman is actually the guy who he isn't Josiah maybe I'm wrong. Isn't Stearman his friend who was in St. Louis? Where there was like a tennis picture of them, or maybe I'm wrong on that. But I think that's who they're referring to here. July 26, 10 games, likely cheated in all 10 games. Private match versus Benjamin Bach, August 10th, 2020. Number of games in the match, 6. Number of games likely cheated in 6. SEC Grand Prix Title Tuesday Blitz, August 11th, 2020. Number of games 10, likely cheated in 10 games. Overall, we have found that Hans has likely cheated in more than 100 online chess games, including several prize money events. He was already 17 when he likely cheated in some of these matches and games. He was also streaming in 25 of these games. Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The Chess.com report contradicts those statements. It says several prize money events are included in the 100 plus suspect games, and he was live streaming the contest during 25 of them. It adds that he was 17 years old during the most recent violations, which subsequently led Chess.com to close his account. A letter sent to Niemann included in the report notes blatant cheating to improve his rating in various games, including in one against Russian chess star Jan Nepomniachtchi, Carlsen's most recent challenger for the World Chess Championship. Niemann in 2020 confessed to the allegations in a phone call with the platform's chief chess officer Danny Wrench, the report says. The report also includes screenshots of subsequent Slack messages between the two, in which they discuss a possible return to the site, which is permitted for players who admit their wrongdoing. Niemann last month questioned why he was banned from the Chess.com Global Championship, a $1 million prize event. Shortly thereafter, Wrench wrote a letter to Niemann explaining that there always remains serious concerns about how rampant your cheating was in prize events, quote unquote, and that there was too much at stake. The letter added that Neiman's suspicious moves coincided with moments when he had opened up a different screen on his computer, implying that he was consulting a chess engine for the best move. Wow. We are prepared to present strong statistical evidence that confirm each of those cases above, as well as clear toggling versus non-toggling evidence where you perform much better while toggling to a different screen during your moves, Wrench wrote. Wow. So actually, you know, it makes sense because honestly, I assume chess.com tracks everything. So I'm betting, I'll just use myself as an example. If you think about the thousands and thousands of games that I've played on stream where like I click on Streamlabs or I click on the chat just to pull it back up, I'm betting my performance is much lower. So I'm betting those stats are probably factor into this somehow as well. Or it's just like you have these thousands and thousands of games from everybody. Like you look at streamers like myself, thousands and thousands of my games go through the stats through the algorithm or whatever. You look at all the other streamers, you look at games, like all this factors in. All of this factors in. Okay, chess.com has historically handled its bans privately, as it did with Neiman in 2020. The platform deviated from that over the last month with Neiman, the report says, after he publicly addressed his communications with chess.com and is banned from the site's global championship. The report said chess.com felt compelled to share the basis for its decisions. Wow. Wow, this is insane. This is crazy. Okay. The report says that chess.com uses a variety of cheat detection tools, including analytics that compare moves to those recommended by chess engines, studies of a player's past performance and strength profile, monitoring behavior such as players opening up other browsers while playing, and input from Grandmaster Fair Play analysts. Okay. Computers have nearly infallible tactical calculation, the report says, and are capable of beating even the best human every single time. The report says dozens of grandmasters have been caught cheating on the website, including 4 of the top 100 players in the world who confessed. Now I think those 4 players, I think we know who they are, right, if I'm not mistaken. But at any rate, I mean, people will obviously sift through the data. Actually, I wonder if in their report are they going to list names. This is also a big question mark. Will names be listed? This is also a big question. Identifying violations in over-the-board games remains a major challenge. The main reason is that grandmasters who cheat require very little assistance. For a player operating in elite circles, a couple of subtle moves and critical spots can be enough to tilt the balance against a world champion. That makes definitively proving allegations of cheating difficult unless a player is caught in the act by using a phone in the bathroom, wearing a small earpiece, or receiving signals from someone in the audience. Neiman first crossed 2300 in the ELO rating system used by chess in late 2015 or early 2016 as an obvious gifted preteen. It took him more than 2 years to push that number above 2400 and another 2 to begin flirting with 2500 Grandmaster territory. In late 2020, he achieved Grandmaster status at the age of 17 in January 2021 and began his drive toward the rarefied atmosphere of the Super Grandmasters. This made him a relatively late bloomer compared to some of his peers. In the ELO system, the fastest way to make large jumps is to win a lot and beat people who are rated above you. Over the next 18 months, Neiman picked up more than 180 ELO points. Data collected by chess.com measuring the strength of his play shows a rise steeper than any of the top young players in the world. Wow. Our view of the data is that Hans, however, has had an uncharacteristically erratic growth period mired by consistent plateaus, the report says. The report also addresses Neiman's post-game analysis of the moves from his game against Carlsen, which top players say showed a lack of understanding of the positions he had just played. It says Neiman's analysis seems to be at odds with the level of preparation that Hans claimed was at play in the game and the level of analysis needed to defeat the world champion. Wow. Oh my gosh, this is completely wild. Completely wild. Okay, here's a picture of Magnus. Magnus Carlsen said that when he played prodigies in the past, they exerted themselves with great effort. Hans Neiman, on the other hand, appeared to play effortlessly. I'm in the report now. Okay, fair enough. In private, in a private conversation after the game, the report says Carlsen said it was unlike any game he's ever played. Carlsen said that when he played I know I'm duplicating it, but whatever. Okay. Okay, in a private conversation after the game, the report says Carlsen said it was unlike any game he's ever played. Carlsen Carlson said that when he played prodigies in the past, they exerted themselves with great effort. Neiman, on the other hand, appeared to play effortlessly. The report also addresses the relationship during the saga between Carlson and chess.com, which is buying Carlson's Play Magnus app for nearly $83 million. The report says that while Carlson's actions at the Singfield Cup prompted them to reassess Neiman's behavior, Carlson didn't talk with, ask for, or directly influence chess.com's decisions at all. Wrench had previously said that chess.com had never shared chess.com had never shared a list of cheaters or the platform's cheat detection algorithm with Carlson. Neiman, speaking at the Singfield Cup, shared his own views of chess.com's anti-cheating methods. They have the best cheat detection in the world, he said. Now, that's the end of the article. It was written by Andrew Beaton over at the Wall Street Journal and Joshua Robinson. Now the report is not here, so I don't know. I'm assuming there's going to be a 72-page report that's going to be released at some point, which everybody wants to see and talk about. It seems very weird they would talk about a 72-page report if it's not coming out. So my guess, oh yeah, this is me. I'm playing Magnus here. This is me against Magnus. Okay. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if there's not a 72-page manifesto report, whatever you want to call it, is not dropped. Now looking at this, just looking at what has happened here, the fact that he has cheated in these tournaments, Title Tuesday 1, 2, 3. I mean, to me the Title Tuesdays are bad enough as is, but then when you see that he cheated in the Pro Chess League as well, I mean there are 32 games and he likely cheated in 12 of those games. This is very tough. Okay, likely cheated. Okay, likely cheated. Again, they've released this, which means they feel confident. I believe that they feel confident if this were to go to court, that they would be able to prove statistically that that is the case. So they got this from chess.com. There is apparently a 72-page report, which I assume they're going to release. It's a 72-page report, or maybe chess.com is giving that report to FIDE. I mean, nobody knows what the situation is. But I mean, after seeing this Wall Street Journal, after the Wall Street Journal report, I find it impossible to believe that there is not going to be a public release of this report. It seems implausible. You don't believe that it just stopped in 2020? Nobody knows. Daniel's reviewing his games. Oh my gosh. This is, I mean, and of course, to make matters even more insane, this is now being dropped right now. Now, somebody can tell me, but if I'm not mistaken, the Pro Chess League in 2020, what team did Hans play for? I feel like he played for St. Louis. I don't know for sure, but I think he played for the team from St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken. But somebody can correct me, or was it like New York? You guys can tell me. Somebody tell me, what team did Hans play for in 2020? So I think he played for St. Louis. What do you guys? What is the footnote and the strength of the graphic and number 12? I don't know. You want, what are Daniel's games? I want to not like make this go away. He did play for the St. Louis Archbishops. Now the question is, if Hans played for St. Louis and this occurred, like, what happens now? I mean, what happens? Because of course US Championship is supposed to be starting tomorrow, I believe. So this is gonna be wild. I will pull up Daniel's stream for a second, okay? Because the thing is, I don't actually know. You know what, mods, can you get me Daniel's games from 2020? I want to look at the games with a open mind. I don't want to see like, I want to look at, I just want to look at the games. I want to look at the games. So if mods, if you can get me the games, I'll look at it, and then I'll pull up Daniel's stream after that. But this is bad. This is bad. Oh, it wasn't St. Louis, it was Norway. So I'm smoking something. Okay, it wasn't St. Louis, it was Norway. So he played for Norway. Wow, even crazier. I mean, what a disaster all around. Okay, I'll just pull up Daniel's stream. I guess I'll just pull up his stream. This is a disaster. And it's also a disaster because without looking at the without seeing the 72-page report, what happens? Like, it does not say that there is clear proof that he has cheated over the board, but they say that statistically he is the fastest improving player in the entire history of chess. That is what they're saying very clearly. very clearly. So yeah, I'll pull up Daniel's stream. I'll just pull up Daniel's stream, I guess, unless I have the games. Daniel wants a call. Okay, sure. I'll jump. We can just jump on a voice call. We don't have to do cams. Yeah. I mean, we can jump on a call. Talk about an outlier. I mean, greatest outlier in the entire history of chess. Literally the greatest outlier in the entire history of chess. I mean, I don't know. Oh man. Oh man, this is going to be insane. This is going to be completely insane. What happens with the US Championship? Because honestly, I feel like there's a real chance that now that this is dropped, you could have top players in the event saying they're not going to play against Hans. You could have that. I mean, you could have Fabiano look at this and see, like, you could see that he's done this, greatest outlier of all time. You know, they say statistically extraordinary. They could just be like, okay, well, I'm not going to play him. I'm just not going to play him. So now, I mean, now I think where this is all going to shift to is, I think where this is going to shift to is it's going to shift to St. Louis and what they do. All right, so I'm gonna. So yeah, so as I was saying, we are going to be covering parts of this podcast that was released last night. This was released. This is the C Squared podcast featuring Christian Chirilla and Fabiano Caruana. Now, full disclosure, when I was in St. Louis for the 960 event, I did do a podcast with them as well. So I really do hope they have success. I see 40,000 views so far. It's the C Squared podcast. I think they did the first episode with first episode was with who again? I forget who it was with. Maybe it was just Fabiano and Christian. I'm not sure. But then they did one with Yasser. They recorded one with me. They did one with Eric Rosen, I think, as well. So I do hope they have success. Again, trying to point out if you guys want to get like high level takes, something that I think there really is not any other podcast that's doing something like this. This is definitely something to pay attention to for sure. So let's get into it now. I have timestamps. We're not going to watch the whole thing. It's an hour and a half long. But I have some timestamps. So let me go to the timestamps so we can get right into it. The first one is 22:17. So let me start like 4 seconds before and let's listen in. I think volume is still good. Actually no, let me up the volume to 200%, and there we go. Okay, let's listen in.
That's one aspect to it, but today he said the first thing about the matter since he left the Singfield Cup. The first time that we actually got to hear not everyone else in the world speculating, but his own words. And he didn't say much.
But he said enough.
Well, yeah.
He definitely said enough.
If you know who he was talking about, then you kind of understand that he was confirming all the rumors.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned Maxim Blugi as Hans's mentor. This is not public information. I don't think it's ever been said that Blugi is Hans's coach or mentor or second or whatever you want to call it. This is the first time that the chess world, not internally, not like a few people, but the outside world is hearing about this.
Right. This is true.
I think we knew though, right? So
yeah, we had heard that.
I'm not 100% sure why it's not public knowledge, but I'm pretty sure we knew, and I'm actually seeing a couple of things.
Yeah, so I mean, like the thing that's important to note about this when they talk about it being public knowledge is, yes, it's known that Hans went to Delugi's academy. But the thing I think that's sort of what Fabian, what like Christian is saying about public news, or Fabian is saying about public news here, is that at the end of the day, it was believed that Hans just went to his academy. It's not really known, did they actually work together? How much did they do? And so it's a very random sort of name drop, and that's why Fabiano says it confirms all the rumors about what Magnus was thinking. Essentially exactly what I just said, like 2 minutes ago when we covered the Magnus interview. All right, next up, we're going to skip ahead. We have another timestamp, 24:35. Let me just keep going.
50 player in the world.
I think sound is good too. You guys can tell me if it's not, but I think sound is good.
Sounds like Blugi is saying that they work together. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yes.
So, yeah, Blugi's reputation, I see someone in the chat asking, is he was removed from chess.com.
It's a tad quiet. Whoa, wait, is it a tad quiet or not? If it's quiet, I can up the volume more. I thought sound was good, but I can up it a bit more. Let me put it like 240. There we go. That should be better. Okay, it's just a tad quiet. Okay, let me put it up just a touch. Okay, there we go.
speculate why, but usually there's only one reason why.
Yes.
And I don't really know much about him besides that. I mean, I met the guy a few times. I played Blitz with him in New York in 2016 during the World Championship match there.
How was he? How was he in Blitz?
Yeah, quite reasonably decent.
Quite reasonably decent. Now, I'm not gonna laugh at Fabiano saying quite reasonably decent, but on that note, you guys, let me see if I can find this. This was maybe the first. There's a short chess video. Let me there's a short chess video. Let me see if I can find it. If I can find it. And I think it was the first chess video I ever saw that had over 1 million views on YouTube. And of course it does feature me. Let me see. Here we go. Oh, 2.2 million views, you guys. So we have to watch this for a second. 2.2 million views. Now this of course is I will turn on my cam just for a minute, or no, actually I won't. I'll just move it. Let me move it down here for a second and leave this here. And this is from 15 years ago, you guys. This video was uploaded on November 5th 2006, and it's speed chess game. Now what's great about this video, I'm gonna turn off chat for just 1 second, is that this is me, of course, wearing like, I don't know, like some dress shirt, some ridiculous tie, and the guy resetting the clock here, of course, is none other than Grandmaster Benjamin Feingold, of course. So this is Benjamin setting the clocks, and it's only a minute long, so we can just watch it very briefly.
I have incentive for you. Dmitry said you won't score any points ever when you play 1 minute, so that's incentive. Score some points. Play boring chess. Yeah. Hope there's a 30 move rule for this game.
30 move rule. Yeah, so anyway, you guys, that was just that's a video. It has 2.2 million views. It's just 1 minute. It's a great video because of course you see me playing against Delugi here. Now 2006 I think is when Delugi played in the United States Chess Championship. Can I lower the resolution? Thanks. This is from 2006, you guys. This is as good as it gets. Top quality is 240p. I'm sorry, you guys. What can I say? But anyway, this is Delugi. He got a wild card to play in the U.S. Championship in 2006. So this is the first time that I ever played against him. 240p. Wow. Yeah. So let's get back to the video now. And let me put chat back on, and let me move the cam as well. Move the cam back to where we were. Okay. So all right. So let's get back to this video. And here we are. So this is okay. We already passed the clip. Or the spot where the timestamp was. Now, as they were saying here, the first time Fabiano played was 2016. He is a very decent blitz player. I think he was the world junior champion, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was like some sort of like blitz event. But there was some event that he won when he was very young. Very talented player, very strong GM without a doubt. But as we know, as Fabiano says here, Benjamin, I think Benjamin Bach has said it as well. He was caught cheating on chess.com. So let's keep going. Next one is, I guess we're going to be watching this next bit for like 20 minutes because this apparently is the meat of the story. But here we go.
By leaving the tournament after he plays him. So things changed since then, which is very interesting. Like what happened between Miami and the Singfield Cup? Because so in the Singfield Cup, we should remind viewers that Hans was a replacement for Rapport, who couldn't make it to the United States, who was unable to play. He was supposed to be playing in the tour, but he couldn't make it, so he had to withdraw. And Hans was a last-minute replacement. Hans himself said this. First, he was supposed to play the Rapid and Blitz. Then, after that, they instead changed it to I think Shankland was invited to Rapid and Blitz, and Hans was invited to Sync. Was Jeffrey?
Jeffrey, yeah.
Jeffrey and Hans was invited to the Singfield Cup. And we know that Magnus already had a problem. As soon as he heard that Hans was invited to Sinkfield Cup, like people think that this was because he lost a game to Hans.
So this is the first important thing. Now, as we go through this interview, there are a couple things that, I mean, I've already read some of the notes of some of the things that are said. Of course, I haven't watched it, so this is the first time I'm reacting to it. But there are going to be spots in here where certain things are brought up, and I am going to essentially say like whether things were known or not known. Now, what Fabiano says here about Magnus already considering dropping out, this is something that was known. I was aware of this prior to just hearing this right now. This is one of those things in the Super Champ circles that was already known. So what Fabiano is saying here, like I am essentially confirming it because I also knew this as well. Let's keep going.
It predates that by a few days. He was already upset about Hans's inclusion in the Sinkfield Cup, and he already was considering leaving. So we know this, right?
Yeah, so you guys are saying, can I join the Super Jam circle? Right, exactly. Now, again, like one of the things that's very important to note, and I probably will have to say this a few times throughout this when Fabiano refers to certain things, is that at the end of the day, you have to understand, yes, I am of course a content creator, I am a broadcaster, at the same time I do play chess. And so when things are being discussed, when things are told, like again, there are things that I know, but at the end of the day, like I am still playing tournaments. These are still my colleagues. These are people that I know and respect immensely. So it is a situation where like I'm not just going to come out and like say all these different things you know, straight up. So there are going to be times in this video where I do know Fabiano is going to say certain things, and you know, it's not known in the general public, but it's very well known within the Super Grandmaster circle.
So that's interesting, because that means that there was only like a short period, a short window. It was like 3 days between the two tournaments.
Right.
So what happened in those few days? This I just don't know. He suspects the guy.
No, you know, the reason also, you guys, that the other thing that I mean, the other reason that I do have to stress this and say this as well is because I think a lot of people, when this initial thing, when you know, when things start breaking out, like people for whatever reason, I know there's certain places like our chess, for example, that they love to think that I'm just pulling stuff out of my, you know, well, I mean, now that's kind of an apt saying now, but at any rate, people I think tend to think that I'm just making this up. This is not something that has been that is like unknown. This does not come from out of left field. Yeah, I mean, the moment I say it, it's like, wait a second, that's, yeah, exactly, yeah. So anyway, let's keep going.
My feeling is that he has this suspicion about Hans for a long time, and then something about the first 3 games of the Sinkfield Cup kind of like made him either extra suspicious or extra emotional about it. Because, like, okay, from my point of view, I don't see Hans's games from the Sinkfield Cup as something very suspicious. He played really well the first 3 games. The game against Magnus was impressive. The game against Chacriar was impressive. But nothing out of the ordinary, right? I mean, nothing that you wouldn't consider a player of Hans's level. And let's say he's between the range of, let's say, 2650 to 2700, right? Or maybe closer to 2700. Maybe, like, we can elaborate on that, or we can speculate on that, but it's not too important. Something that a player of that level is capable of doing. So I feel like Magnus's decision to leave the tournament was somewhat emotional, and probably wasn't the right decision.
Interesting.
But you know, I mean, he felt uncomfortable. That's very clear. He felt uncomfortable before the tournament, and maybe the first 3 games exacerbated that, and then that just gave him the impulse to leave the tournament.
I'm trying to understand what happened.
So, like, this is really important to note as well. This is a big question mark that like, again, what is known, like, as I said, this is not some secret, knowing that Magnus had his reservations about playing the tournament with Hans being there. But the real question is ultimately, why did he play the tournament and then withdraw, as opposed to, say, withdrawing at the start? Like, if he had the concerns, like, my general view of it is that if he felt so strongly about the issue, that he's Magnus Carlsen. He's the world champion. He's the foremost authority. That is just how it goes. If Magnus says, I'm not going to play a tournament, Hans in the tournament, you would assume that the organizers in St. Louis are going to, like, they're going to say, okay, we understand your point. Hans, we'll find someone else to play in the tournament, is what you would think. So that is the big question mark. Because he lost, obviously, are you seriously this dumb? Well, but the question is, like, what does that mean though? Like, I don't believe that Magnus simply makes that decision. Like, if he's already very suspicious, I mean, maybe he thought he saw something in those first 3 games too. Like, I don't know. Oh, Fabiano answers later. Okay, all right. Well, then let's keep going. If he withdrew before the tournament, no one would guess it was about Hans. My guess is that he wanted the world to know this stuff about Hans. Maybe. So anyway, okay, let's keep going though. Since again, I haven't seen this, so we'll see what Fabiano says.
Happened in between Miami and the Singfield Cup. We do know that there were some, well, business dealings, right? I think it was before the Singfield Cup started that Chess.com announced the purchase of the Play Magnus group. So that was a huge news, I guess, leading up to the Singfield Cup. There's some speculation that Magnus probably saw some things or was shown some things by the Chess.com team, basically a list of potential people that were flagged, and based on that his reaction could be, let's say, explained. We don't know that. We don't have any inside info in that one for sure.
No, I mean, I can tell you that was not the case. Like, Magnus has had these suspicions for a long time, and I can also say this from, like, what people have, because I didn't think about this at all. I didn't really know Hans as a player until I only met him last year, and I didn't think much of it. Like, he's a talented player. I played Blitz with him last year, and we were playing in Riga. We played Bughouse. He's obviously a talented player, and he's obviously a good Blitz player, and he seemed like a good classical player. So I didn't think much of it. But then, like, on half a dozen occasions over the past year, people ask me, what do you think about him? Do you think he's cheating? There's a lot of speculation going on.
So here we get to the next stage of everything. Now, when this initially broke after Magnus withdrew, and I spoke a lot about this topic, this is essentially exactly what I said as well between the lines, which is, the thing is, as I said, I've heard these rumors for a very long time as well. I have always assumed it's complete nonsense. It sounds like Fabiano thought the exact same thing, that basically you just assume it's nonsense. But the thing is, when you start hearing it over and over and over again from different people who are well respected within the chess community, it does make you step back and think for a second, because it's like, again, we look at what Levant said and how, like, people are paranoid. You always assume some junior player has cheated. Like, I mean, that is true. Like, you know, it's very, very common that you hear, like, okay, like 1 or 2 people that you get salty over a game, you think that, like, somebody might have cheated, but then the rumor dies down immediately, because of course it's completely unfounded. And so when you start hearing it over and over, like, it gives you pause, and you kind of start to, like, you assume that it's, like, still nonsense, but you don't really know. We all know Prague is cheating. I've never heard a word about Prague. I've never heard a word about Vincent. I've never heard a word about anybody. I've never heard a word. So Fabiano is essentially saying exactly what I was saying between the lines. Why only Hans, Aragaius, and Gukesh? I mean, I've never heard anything. I've never heard anything. Anyway, let's keep going.
This is, and of course this reaches Magnus, this reaches everyone. This is not just, I mean, the chess world is a small world, and
very true.
And if some people start talking about how someone maybe is cheating, you know, that snowballs and people start to hear about it more and more. So this is not something recent.
Yeah.
Whoa. The difference is Fabiano will never get flack for saying the exact same thing as you did. I mean, yes, that obviously goes without saying, of course.
Yeah, I think if you're, like, entrenched into the chess world, you probably have heard about these rumors, right? Like, people just basically asking about it. But I think Hans also mentioned nobody, and he knew about these rumors as well, but no grandmaster or at least one of his top level peers challenged him face to face directly about this. So he was hearing about it, but nobody actually said it to him face to face. Now, then comes Magnus and makes an incredible accusation, more or less. Not directly, obviously, indirectly, but people understood what he meant. So
Thing is, so when I heard about these things, I kind of wrote it off.
yeah,
Exactly. Yes. Just like me.
Like,
Exactly the
just to give
same
one
thing.
instance, Hans is playing a tournament in the Prague Masters, right, in Czech Republic. And he ties for first with Kamer in classical. I forget how many games it was. They tied for first, and Kamer beats him in a rapid playoff.
Mhm.
And someone comes up to me and says, "Isn't this suspicious? He plays really well in classical, and then in rapid he gets crushed." And then I can't take this stuff seriously, because what does that means? Nothing. I mean, you can have good days.
Yeah,
you can
like
have-
I mean, this is actually a great example. Like I can tell you why this is a great example. Fabiano's example is perfect, and I'll use it in the context of another event. So if we use it in the context of another event, you know, you look at how Hans did in the Rapid Chess Championship. I know that in the last couple of weeks he did quite well. He beat me on his road to winning one of them. He finished, I think, in maybe the semifinals, another one. But prior to the last couple of weeks, he never made the knockout stage. Like he went 0 for 15. Maybe it's not 0 for 15, but like he went 0 for 10 or 0 for 15. So like this is another, you can use like another even better example of the context of the Rapid Chess Championship. So let's keep listening to what Fabiano was saying.
bad days, it doesn't like this to me isn't evidence at all. So I
Right.
heard all these.
Yeah, see, like this is the thing. Like you hear this, it's like okay, but I mean, I mean, like really, like is that what it is? Like, I mean, I completely agree with what Fabiano was saying. It's like you hear about this, you know, it's like also like RCC. I had heard some stuff about the Rapid Chess Championship. It's like okay, like you know, he's not being the knockout, so probably like there's something going on, like somehow delay or something is like preventing him from doing something, and it's still like. Again, like it's really hard to honestly like believe in any of that stuff. It's just like it sounds so ridiculous. It really does.
Frankly, to me, sounded like stupid rumors based off of either very circumstantial, anecdotal data, or nothing at all, just based on pure like emotion and bias. And I wrote it off. And also because I understand how these things go, and I've also been suspicious of people